The whole world doesn't need to know who we're dating or what we're gonna do and everything. America was the cooking teacher, and she owns her own catering business, and she runs a bed and breakfast at her in her home.
Abby and Brittany Hensel's worst fear has finally come true, shaking everyone who has followed their incredible story. The conjoined twins have always amazed the world with their courage and unbreakable bond. What could possibly be so terrifying that it overshadows their incredible strength and resilience? Let us uncover what they've been hiding all this time that is making their lives a living hell. Bound together forever. The twins' story began on March 7, 1990 in Minnesota. Doctors had told their parents, Patty and Mike, that their daughters might not make it through the first night. But they were fighters. They survived, they thrived, and they took on life's challenges with a bond so unique it's almost impossible for others to understand. Before we dive deeper, it's clear that what Abby and Brittany faced was far more devastating than anyone could have predicted. And it's not the only thing that will leave you speechless. The twins are fused at the torso, sharing one body with two heads. Each twin controls one side, and it's been this way for everything they do, from simple gestures to the most complex activities. Life for them has always meant complete coordination. Just imagine needing someone else to help you with every move, every step. That's their life. Yet they've done it so seamlessly that people watching them in documentaries are often left in awe.
Like hats and like different color hair, like pink and purple and stuff like that.
They've refused separation. It was never an option, as the risk of losing one or both was far too high. So they learned to live together as they were, defying the odds and embracing the unique bond that they shared. Together they faced the challenges of growing up, attending school, and finding hobbies, all while dealing with the public's fascination with their condition. Most people would think that conjoined twins would be limited, held back by their situation. But they didn't just survive, they lived fully and unapologetically. They went to school like other kids, took part in sports, traveled, made friends, and even pursued careers. One twin was always the more outspoken one, while the other tended to be more easygoing. Their differences in personality helped them balance each other, and together they made an inseparable, unbeatable pair. Yet behind all their accomplishments and smiles, there was a fear that they carried with them. They rarely spoke about it publicly, but it was always there. What if one of them faced a serious health crisis? What if one twin got sick? The fear wasn't just about illness. It was about the uncertainty of what that meant for their shared body, their future, their very existence. And one ordinary day, their worst fear began to unfold. It started as a regular day. Now, elementary school teachers, they were preparing for a lesson. Teaching had been their passion, a testament to their determination to lead independent, fulfilling lives. They loved the classroom, loved the kids, and found joy in making education accessible and fun for everyone. But one twin didn't feel quite right that day. A nagging headache turned into dizziness, and by midday she was feeling overwhelmingly tired. At first they thought it was just a long day taking its toll, but as the hours went on, the condition worsened. The other twin noticed immediately. Her speech slowed, her reactions dulled, and something was deeply off. By afternoon, it was undeniable. One of them was really sick. She felt faint, struggling just to stay conscious. The other couldn't help but panic. Their greatest fear was happening, and there was nothing to do but call for help and hope it wasn't too late.
I'm looking to make sure they're not developing premature high blood pressure, respiratory problems. Are they prone to more infection?
The hospital was a blur of panic and confusion. One twin had fainted and the other's heart pounded with fear. While one struggled, the other, perfectly healthy, could do nothing but feel the helplessness clawing at her insides. They had always been a team, each half of the same whole, but now one had to watch the other suffer with no way to share the pain or make it easier. Doctors rushed them in for tests, scans, monitoring everything they could think of. It was agonizing, each minute ticking by with no answers. One twin sat there feeling every second drag like an hour, waiting for someone to tell them what was wrong. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the doctors had an answer, and it shook them both. The diagnosis was a heart condition that had gone undetected for years. It wasn't immediately life-threatening, but it was serious enough to need immediate treatment and ongoing management. For the twins, the news was like a punch to the gut. They had always thought of themselves as invincible as long as they had each other. Now they were faced with the harsh reality that their bodies weren't as strong as they thought. As they began to understand what was happening, the twins had to make tough choices about how to move forward. A health scare changes everything. There was a sigh of relief. She wasn't going to die, at least not yet, but there was also a new weight pressing down on them. What would this mean for their future? How would the condition impact the other twin, whose own body was perfectly healthy? The questions were endless and the answers weren't comforting. The days after the diagnosis were some of the hardest they'd ever faced. They were prescribed medication, lifestyle changes, all the usual things doctors recommend. But for the twins, it wasn't as simple as just taking a pill or exercising more. Every decision had to be made together. Every change had to be synchronized. They had always been connected, but now it felt like they were being tested in a way they never had been before. One twin couldn't help but think about what this meant for their independence. Would the condition hold them back? Would sacrifices have to be made for the sake of the other's health? It was a thought that kept her up at night. Meanwhile, the other, as always, tried to look at the bright side. They'd gotten through so much already. This was just another challenge. The fear never really went away, though. The uncertainty hung over them like a dark cloud, a constant reminder of just how fragile their situation was.
That's winning the argument of what they're doing or what they're wearing.
When we bought these shoes, it was a huge argument.
Months passed, and slowly but surely they found a new normal. The condition was stable, and they had managed to return to their teaching careers. They embraced the changes they had to make, focusing on staying healthy and strong for each other. It wasn't the life they had planned, but it was still their life. They were still the same inseparable pair that had faced every challenge life threw at them. Only now they had a deeper appreciation for what they had, for every moment they got to spend together. Their experience was a reminder that even the strongest bonds have vulnerabilities. But it was also a testament to the power of love, resilience, and the unbreakable connection they shared. They might have faced their biggest fear, but they didn't let it break them. Instead, they used it as a chance to grow, to learn, and to keep moving forward. Together. The world had always looked at the Hensel twins as symbols of resilience. Their recent ordeal only strengthened that image. Facing their greatest fear had given them a newfound strength, a reminder of just how much they could endure and overcome. They knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. The heart condition would require constant care and attention, and there was no telling what challenges lay ahead. But they were ready. They had each other, and as long as they were together, they believed they could face anything. Life might be unpredictable and fear might always be lurking in the background, but for them, that fear no longer had power over them. They had faced it, lived through it, and come out stronger on the other side. And that's what made them truly remarkable. Their story is not just about the struggles of being conjoined twins. It's a story of resilience, of facing fears head-on, and of never backing down, no matter how tough life gets. It's about understanding that life isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about meeting them, fighting them, and coming out stronger. The world watched as they faced their greatest fear, and in doing so, they taught us all an important lesson. Fear is a part of life. It's always there, lurking in the background, waiting for the right moment to strike. But it's not the fear that defines us, it's how we face it. The Hensel twins have shown us that even when the worst happens, even when our greatest fear comes true, we have the strength to face it. And as long as we have those we love by our side, we are never truly alone. Their story isn't over. There will be more challenges, more fears to face, but they will meet them like they always have, together. And if that's not true strength, then what is? The diagnosis brought new problems that pushed their bond and their ability to adjust to something completely different. A fight they couldn't avoid. What Abby and Brittany experienced was a stark reminder of just how unpredictable life can be. They learned that even when everything seems to be going perfectly, challenges can arise without warning. The fear of the unknown is something we all live with, but for these twins, that fear had always been amplified. Their entire existence was based on trust, compromise, and constant adjustment.
the medial lung on both sides seems to be fused in the middle, and that may be as one would expect.
They couldn't afford to be complacent, and now more than ever, they had to stay vigilant. The diagnosis forced them to confront questions they had long avoided. Would one twin's health issue inevitably affect the other's quality of life? What would their independence look like if one of them became too sick to function normally? These were not easy questions to answer, and for a while they loomed over their heads like an inescapable burden. But the reality was clear. They had no choice but to move forward, regardless of the uncertainty. For Abby, the challenge was in watching her sister suffer while feeling perfectly healthy herself. She had always believed that they were invincible, that as long as they had each other, nothing could go wrong. Now, that illusion had been shattered, and she had to accept that there were limits to what they could endure. For Brittany, the challenge was in staying positive, even when her body felt weak. She didn't want Abby to worry, but she knew that her condition was a burden they both had to bear. The Hensel twins had always been a symbol of perfect teamwork. They had spent their entire lives mastering the art of compromise, of knowing when to push and when to yield. But now they found themselves in a situation where compromise wasn't enough. Brittany's health needed to be prioritized, and that meant that Abby had to adjust her own expectations. It was a humbling experience, one that reminded them both of just how interconnected they truly were. The weeks following Brittany's diagnosis were full of doctor's appointments, medication adjustments, and lifestyle changes. They had to learn to listen to Brittany's body, to recognize the signs of fatigue or stress before they became overwhelming. Abby had to learn to slow down even when her body felt ready to move forward. It was frustrating at times, but it was also a testament to their love for each other. They would do whatever it took to keep each other safe. Their parents, Patty and Mike, were a constant source of support. They had always been there for their daughters, and this time was no different. Patty took time off work to help them adjust to their new routine, while Mike handled the logistics of doctor's visits and medication refills. The twins also leaned on their friends, who offered a shoulder to cry on and words of encouragement when things got tough. It was a collective effort, a reminder that they were never truly alone. As they adjusted to their new reality, Abby and Brittany made a conscious effort to find joy in the small moments. They spent time with their students, finding comfort in the laughter and curiosity of children. Teaching had always been their passion, and being in the classroom gave them a sense of purpose. They also made time for their hobbies, reading, watching movies, and spending time outdoors. These moments of normalcy were a reminder that life was still worth living, even with the challenges they faced. Brittany's condition was manageable, but it required constant attention.
So we packed tank tops and stuff like that, but we really needed parkas.
They had to be careful about what they ate, how much they exercised, and how much stress they allowed into their lives. It was a delicate balance, one that required vigilance and discipline. But through it all, they never lost sight of what mattered most, each other. They had faced their worst fear, and they had come out on the other side stronger and more connected than ever. Abby often reflected on how Brittany's optimism kept her grounded during the scariest moments. Brittany, on the other hand, credited Abby's determination for keeping them moving forward. It was a perfect balance, one that had carried them through every challenge they had faced. They knew that the road ahead would not be easy, but they were ready to face it, together. With each problem they solved, Abby and Brittany showed that their shared strength could help them through the hardest times. Resilience leads the way. The months turned into a year, and slowly but surely Abby and Brittany settled into their new routine. Brittany's condition remained stable, and the twins found a rhythm that worked for them. They continued to teach, inspiring their students with their resilience and positivity. They also continued to share their story, hoping to inspire others who might be facing their own challenges. The experience had changed them, but it had also made them stronger. They had learned to appreciate the fragility of life, to cherish every moment they had together. They had also learned that it was okay to be vulnerable, to lean on others when things got tough. It was a lesson that they hoped others would take to heart, that true strength lies in our ability to face our fears and keep moving forward, no matter how uncertain the future might be. Abby and Brittany knew that their story was far from over. There would be more challenges, more fears to face, but they were ready. They had each other. and as long as they were together, they believed they could face anything. Their path was a testament to the power of resilience, love, and the unbreakable bond they shared. And as they looked to the future, they did so with hope and determination, ready to face whatever came their way. Together. For Abby and Brittany, the ordeal they faced was more than just a health scare. It was a lesson in vulnerability. They had always prided themselves on their ability to adapt, to overcome any obstacle that life threw at them. But now they had to confront the fact that they weren't invincible. They had to accept that there were limits to what they could endure and that sometimes they needed help. It was a humbling realization, but it was also an important one.
And us had always talked about going to London since like sophomore year, so we want to make that happen.
They learned that true strength wasn't about being invulnerable. It was about recognizing their own limitations and being willing to ask for help when they needed it. It was about leaning on each other, on their family, on their friends, and on their community. It was about understanding that vulnerability wasn't a weakness. It was a source of strength. Their path taught them to be patient with themselves, to recognize that healing takes time. It taught them to appreciate the small victories, a day without symptoms, a successful lesson in the classroom, a quiet moment of laughter together. These were the moments that mattered, the moments that reminded them why they kept fighting. Abby and Brittany's story is far from over. They know that there will be more challenges, more fears to face, but they are ready. They have faced their worst fear and come out stronger on the other side. They have learned that even in the face of uncertainty, they have the strength to keep moving forward. And they have learned that as long as they have each other, they are never truly alone. Their path is a testament to the power of resilience, of love, and of the unbreakable bond that they share. It is a reminder that even in our darkest moments, we have the strength to face our fears and keep moving forward. And it is a reminder that we are never truly alone, that as long as we have those we love by our side, we can face anything. Abby and Brittany Hensel have shown the world what true strength looks like. They have shown us that even when our greatest fear comes true, we have the power to face it and keep moving forward. And as they look to the future, they do so with hope, determination, and the knowledge that they can face anything together. Their story isn't just about the challenges of being conjoined twins, it's about the power of love, the strength of vulnerability, and the resilience of the human spirit. It's about facing our fears head-on and finding the courage to keep moving forward, no matter how uncertain the future might be. And it's about the unbreakable bond that we share with those we love, a bond that gives us the strength to face anything that comes our way. Abby and Brittany Hensel have become symbols of resilience and hope for people around the world. Their story is one of overcoming obstacles, of facing fears, and of embracing the beauty of their unique bond. They have shown us that even when life doesn't go as planned, there is still joy to be found, still love to be shared, still strength to be discovered. Is Abby and Brittany's revelation a heartbreaking reality, or is there more to their story that remains untold? Tell us your thoughts and remember to like and subscribe for more.